Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Java with Jen and Jess. I am Jennifer Fernandez, Realtor and Branch Manager for the Property Pros Tampa office.
And I am Jessica Sherrill, Senior Loan Officer with Freedom Mortgage, the home team. And today we have an amazing show. We are so excited, right, Jen?
Absolutely.
We have Katie Hassan, professional sales and leadership coach, and she will be discussing habits of top producers and teaching us all how to sell the way people like to buy. So we're really excited about this show. But first, we have our small business spotlight. So who do we have today?
Today we have Christine Plaza Rivera with Zip Transactions. I personally love this lady. We all know transaction coordinating really does help get your business to the next level. So it's perfect episode for her to be on today with us. Christine, welcome. Thank you for being here with us.
Good morning, ladies. How are you?
How
Thanks
are you?
for having me.
Yeah, of course. So Christine, tell us a little bit about what you do, what you offer.
Obviously it's I'm a transaction coordinator. And what I offer is just, I just want to simplify. My goal is to simplify my agents' lives by saving them time with every transaction that they do. And I know that, life comes at a different direction, especially now being at home. So this is like the perfect opportunity to kind of bring me in and try to help out as much as I can. So what I do is pretty much I engage with my agents as much as I can. The services I provide are, they bring in their contracts after execution and I roll with the ball at that point. I pretty much handle a big piece of what their administrative paperwork is to do, so that they're not doing that in the long perspective. And, they are saving time and using that additional time with, whatever is home, whether that's family or, working new leads or generating new business, whatever that looks like, we just try to simplify that piece.
What would you say sets you apart from some of the other transaction coordinating companies out there?
I try to, I've worked for a luxury brand prior to this new venture. And one of the things that, they strive on is just making it more engaging and, not making it a transaction. You're not working with robots, you're keeping a person on the other end. So, I try to keep it engaging and, I speak to my agents as much as I can, even though that's not always the best thing. And then of course, everybody works a little different. So, I try to make it personal. And I think that ultimately it helps a lot. And especially, whether it's a customer or an agent and, some people just need different things. So I work either way, and I'm pretty flexible on how they want to work.
So if an agent comes to you, what can they expect from you as far as a day-to-day? They go under contract on a home, they send it to you. What happens from there?
Pretty much after execution, I roll with the ball. So I pretty much handle your timelines, your escrow piece, which it is a very time consuming piece. When we're looking at administrative pieces for, agents, it's about 20 hours a week when you're looking at, that first few weeks of just trying to figure out that the buyer or seller, what they're doing on their end. I make sure I track every piece of it. I make sure I look at those timelines. I make sure I'm talking with title companies, lenders, whoever I need to talk to make sure that all those end pieces are connecting. And we are making those deadlines so that our agents are getting past that point of being stressful, especially since those first few, like that first week is so important, especially with a transaction, because you could lose it at some point should something happen. So I try to manage that as much as I can so they can focus on something else and they're not worried about that.
So I know how much time you save me in a week. Yes, I do personally. I know how much time you save me. But what would your answer to that question be? How many hours a week do you think you are saving agents and allowing them to do these other, fun things or lead gen, stuff like that?
I'm looking about 20 hours minimum per agent. And of course, every agent is different. So definitely when it looks at following, emails or, title company needs certain things from different people. So, I track that piece so they're not having to worry about it. And, I know that a lot of you are on their mobile, so you're working on your cell phones and whatnot. So I know having to stop to be able to give, let's say it's a contract or somewhere an addendum or trying to figure out where to get, signature pieces, all that really is time consuming. When you think about it, it could take you 30 minutes just to handle like an addendum. That could take me a few minutes just on my end so that you're not having to pull over that 30 minutes. You can be handling, new perspectives that are coming your way. So, or even having lunch, which I know by all means, everybody needs. So definitely, it's just, I look at it as minimum 20, depending on the agent, it could be a little bit more, but definitely it's a time saver. And then on the agent, and it's a time robber. So I try to take that from that agent so that they can use that time more wisely.
Well, I can say one of your most used lines with me is, Jen, I got it. I got it. I'm like, I got it. And how I can't, so half the time I don't even get the complete sentence out. And she's already like, it's already done. I got it. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to lunch now.
Yes. And usually I try to, and I'm very easy with my agents and they can tell you, I pretty much do it really quickly. I don't like waiting on things. So if we need to address it, we address it right away. And, again, time is money. So we want to make sure that we're not making anyone wait. Oh, hi, Wendy Stewart.
Wendy Stewart.
So we definitely, again, just want to make sure that I'm taking care of all of my agents. I'm very fortunate enough to work with a lot of pros right now who make my life a little easier. So definitely, like I said, the biggest piece is just making sure that I'm handling it, everything comes to me in time and it gets done in a time efficient manner on my end.
For some reason, my face is blurry, but it's okay. What does this services cost?
Right now, it's pretty much $250. I'm pretty competitive for buyer seller. And then, if you want to use me for both, it's $325. My prices are on my website, which I can give you a little bit, which I can go ahead and give you a little bit later on. But yes, definitely, I'm pretty competitive. And again, that engaging piece of working with my agents is just the most important piece I have right now.
Christine, I want to chime in just for a second. From the lender's perspective, it's been a joy to work with you. We have, a lot of agents, a lot of volume that we're working with on a daily basis, and to have that extra person to just know that they can get things to us in a timely manner when we have files going to clear to close. I mean, we have a lot of volume, okay? And we need everyone to be facilitating their part in the, while we are all working for the main goal is to close, right? And so to have you as that key player, and I say you're very key, to facilitate those documents that we need in a timely basis. I've already worked with you on a few different files and it has been a joy. So we appreciate Zip Transactions. So let me ask you this. I have enjoyed your services as well on the lender side. And how can people, when they are trying to kind of decide, where to find you and how to use your services, where do they go? Tell us.
They can go, they can either call me or they can actually look at my website. It's actually on the screen. It's www.ziptransactions.com, or they can call me at 321-209-0082. Again, I'm here to help. I'm here to try to save everyone time. And, at the end, we're one big puzzle, putting it together to, have one file, which is always closing our files and making sure that all of us are making money, you know what I mean? So definitely call me.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for all that you do.
Yes, and thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
I can, like I said before, personally vouch. I mean, a transaction coordinator is vital to your business and getting to the next level. It definitely will save you a lot of time, and that time can be spent generating more income for yourself.
And what a perfect, can I chime in and say something on that? I just want to say, this was perfect for her to be on the show today, right?
Yeah.
Because, having support and growing your business, and we have the next segment, which is going to be incredible to state just that. So what do you got?
Yeah, as Jessica mentioned earlier, with us today is Katie Hassan. Katie is part of the #1 corporate sales training and coaching division of the Southwestern Company. She began working Southwestern Company in 2012, where she sold for 4 years, relocated to 4 states. But one of the many things that stood out to me and made me say we've got to have her on this show is that she has knocked on over 20,000 doors while working straight commission. Sound familiar? Wow. Katie is a top producer herself and with us today to give us some tips and tricks on how to take our business to the next level. Hi, Katie.
Awesome. Hello. Thanks for having me. Super excited to be here. I've used Zoom before, so haven't used StreamYard before, but I'm going to share my screen here. I did prepare like a little bit of a presentation.
Well, while you're doing that, before we get into it, go ahead and give us a Linda. We just kind of gave you a little brief introduction, but go ahead and feel free to expand on that. Give us a little bit about your history, your background, what you do, and all that good stuff.
Yes. So as you had referenced, and let me know if you can see the screen share yet or no.
I can see it.
Okay. So if I go ahead and start this, then can you see it from a presentation view?
Yep. And I'll go ahead and bring it up here when you're done with your intro.
All right, perfect. So I actually started with the Southwestern family of companies. It is a 160-year-old family of companies, and yes, I started out in the School of Hard Knocks doing door-to-door sales. Actually, they still have that program 160 years later. College kids go door-to-door selling educational books. That's how I got with the Southwestern family of companies. Now I am with Southwestern Consulting and Southwestern Coaching more specifically, which is the sales, one-on-one sales performance and leadership coaching. And so obviously within the real estate and mortgage industries, coaching is pretty popular, pretty familiar. That's what we do. That's our bread and butter. So as you had said, that's my background. I've been a coach now for 4.5 years. I absolutely love it. I love talking to people. I love helping share different perspectives or just giving that outside input. That's what I'm passionate about. I love working with people. We not only work within the real estate and mortgage fields, but also with insurance, financial planning, really anyone who's a business owner or in that commission-based sales role. So that is my passion. I love helping and I love coaching people. So do you want me to just give like an overview of kind of what we can talk through today?
Yeah, we want to. And let me know when you're ready to put the screen up.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Here we go.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. So that's a little bit about my background. I figured, and I'll have my contact info on one of the last screens as well too. But just to kind of give you guys an overview, what I thought would be helpful to share today. I'll give you a little bit of background about the Southwestern Company, kind of what we've been working, who we've been working with, a little bit of background about Southwestern Consulting. And then I figured it's always good to share some of the things that we've seen when it comes to top producers. As I mentioned, within every industry, there's top producers and there's some commonalities. And I don't think there's ever any kind of negative ramifications of hearing things over again. That's why we call it spaced repetition training. So some of these things that I share today are not going to be rocket science, but my hope and my hope is that there's at least some value or some, hey, I knew that, but I haven't heard it in a while. I will reference our coaching. That is something that I'm super passionate about, but hopefully today it'll give a little preview of what we do and some good perspectives as well too. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that's amazing. Yes.
And I'm used to being interactive, so feel free to chime in and interact with me because I'm used to being in person. So this has been a totally different world as well for me too.
Right.
So I'll share a little bit about Southwestern Consulting. I don't, we have at this point coached over 11,000 people. We have coaching clients internationally. We have coaches. We have 110 coaches internationally. We work with a lot of different companies and a lot of different industries. We've been featured on some major media as well too. But at the end of the day, our main focus is to elevate sales. We help people achieve their goals in life. That's our mission statement. And that's really what coaching is about. It's ultimately getting an outside perspective to be able to work on your business, not just in the day-to-day, but that is the goal. That is the goal of being able to elevate the practice and perception of sales. So I love going into, okay, well, what does that look like? What are some of those habits of top producers? What have we seen? And especially like I was referencing in today's environment, I don't know if you guys felt like this at the beginning of the year. I definitely did.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think everybody came into this year with that go-getter and positive mindset, and then it was like, boom.
What happened? What happened?
And you guys have probably seen those memes. It's like 2020, just trying to get through it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I know this was me at the beginning of the year. 2020 is going to be the best year ever. And I think we've all at this point experienced some kind of shift, some kind of difference. Like this was our group in Nashville. The company's located in Nashville in January. And more recently, our meetings have been like this, right? This is a whole new way of operating. I think especially with the clients that I coach in real estate and mortgage, it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to be going to grab that coffee anymore. Or now I have to take extra precautions on this listing appointment. Or there has been a very different shift, right? Especially depending on the market. But, I think the important thing is looking at what can we ultimately control. There's a lot of things going on right now that we cannot control. And a lot of times when we're feeling overwhelmed or stressed, typically it's because we're allowing ourselves to focus on the things that are not in our control. And right. So at the end of the day, we cannot control the results that happen. We cannot ultimately control if someone decides to work with us. We cannot control if someone decides to hang up the phone on us or slam the door in the face, whatever analogy you want to use to it. We can only look at what can we control. And so I think a preface to going into what some of these habits of top producers are looking at, okay, well, what are the areas in my control? What are the things that I know that I can work on and I can look at? So really there's three main areas that we like to focus on. That first one is skills. Like looking at, okay, what are those skills in my business that I can enhance, that I can get better at? How do I, and for some of our clients, that looks like, how do I ask questions that don't seem so salesy? How do I effectively ask for referrals, leverage my network, leverage my COI? How do I close? So it can be basic skills development. Some people just want to shake the rust off, but looking at, okay, what kind of skills am I developing in my personal and professional career? Second one is motivation. All right, so I know at least Jen and Jess, you guys are also in the sales world. Have you guys ever experienced that emotional roller coaster before?
Often.
Sales motivation, right? Okay, so if you guys have a great month and you're like, yeah, that was the best month ever. I look good, I feel good, I sell good, everything's great, I'm on top of the world. And then the next month, maybe a deal falls through and it's like, oh, everything's falling apart.
Yep. Happens all the time.
Yep.
For sure.
So what we've noticed is a main area is sales motivation, right? How do I gain some consistency and motivation? How do I get some outside perspective to be like, hold on, let me refocus. Can I actually control what's going on? I mean, I can think of clients that we've had that have been in their business and industries for 20, 30 plus years, but they're like, hey, I need to remember why I got into this in the first place. I just need to gain some consistency in my motivation and get off of this emotional roller coaster. So sales motivation. Last one, which is a huge area to focus on, is systems, right? And
I have to say that is number one. Number one. Oh my gosh, yes.
Yes. And we're not just referencing CRMs here. But what does systems look like? It's looking at, okay, how am I working? A lot of times we see people that are just working really hard and they're really busy being busy, but it's like, am I actually working smart? What am I doing? Like, I think of one of our clients, Lisa Faringo. She's with Coldwell Banker down in the Keys, and she started in coaching, and she had started in January. And when she got into coaching, she was like in tears. Like, she felt like she couldn't take a 3-day weekend without everything falling apart. And she had just finished doing 29 million, and she had 4 buyers agents on her team, right? And so when she got into coaching, you know, not only did she want to be able to take a 3-day weekend, it was kind of a mess, but she wanted to be able to focus on how am I lining out my system. So her and her coach, they focused on what were her systems that she had in place. And by the end of that first quarter, you know, she not only pared down her team to 1 buyer's agent, but 1 full-time admin. And so her and her coach focused on what are those systems. And by the end of that year, she went from 29 million to 42.1 million. So increased her business 33% with far less overhead, obviously. And then that next year, she only had that buyer's agent and the 1 admin and added a part-time buyer's agent. And by the end of that year, she went to 60. So, I mean, and then she got out of coaching, and this was like 2 years ago, right? But the benefits of coaching last a lot longer after that once you put those systems in place, and she's on track to do 80. So it's looking at, okay, am I just working hard or am I working smart? What does that look like for me?
So I have a question going back to the admin. I've always heard that your first hire in real estate or pretty much in any industry where you're in a sales position, your first hire should be an admin. Would you agree with that?
I think it depends on the individual and what their goal is, what their focus is. Part of what we look at is, okay, well, what does that look like for you? I know I had to do that in my business of looking at, what am I spending my time on, and what can I delegate? And so, you know, and I started small with that. I know I can speak from personal experience. I had an assistant at first for only 5 hours a week, because I wanted to make sure I was spending my time on what were my income producing activities, which we will talk about in a second as well too. Getting into it. So in each one of these areas, we need to develop habits, right? And I think what's interesting about what's happened with the environment now with COVID, prior to COVID, 80% of what we did was based out of habits, right? We just went by our day by day, and we had habits in place. Well, things got shaken up a little bit, right? And now, instead of only thinking about 20% of what we need to do, we're thinking about a lot more of what we need to do. So this has been an amazing time to look at what are the habits that I've had in place that I really feel good about, and also what are those habits that I know that I probably could be doing a little bit better at, or at least reinforce going forward. So I want to make sure I'm staying on time here. So let me know if we're getting close to time, because I can talk about some of these things for a long time.
No, we're good.
You have plenty of time. You're good.
Okay. And at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, accountability. I think of like a personal trainer. Like, I know I can go to the gym and I can lift some weights sometimes, but when I wanted to actually see results, I hired a personal trainer. Not only for the accountability of it, for the motivation, the techniques, but at the end of the day, when I told someone else I was going to do it, and especially I was paying them to do it, it made a difference, right? So at the end of the day, accountability works, and that's kind of the whole name of the game with coaching. But let's get into, what are those habits? What are the habits that all top producers have that are those common characteristics? So the first habit that all top producers have, it doesn't matter industry, doesn't matter anything. We're talking purely habits, and we can talk about afterwards if anybody wants to talk individually about how this works specifically for you. We can talk through that. But the first habit of all top producers is that they find a way, not an excuse. Find a way, not an excuse, because at the end of the day, we all have that little voice that likes to whisper rationalizations in our ear, right? And that little voice can be bad with salespeople sometimes. I mean, you guys have heard that voice before, right?
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Anything that you know that is said to you recently?
Go to the beach. Don't work.
Yeah. Like, I worked really hard this morning. I should just take the afternoon off. Or
a couple hours off.
yeah. Or, man, I know I need to call that client with some not so great information, but let me finish this email first. Or
That's my main. my number one excuse. I don't have time.
I don't have time, right? And how often, like, there's nothing that voice is going to say that's ultimately going to get us to that next level, right? That's going to make us happier or make us more money. But it's like, how often do we allow ourselves to lose time in the day being convinced by that voice that we don't want to be uncomfortable, right? And so what we've noticed is that part of being a top producer is changing that internal self-talk around, you know, convincing myself of every reason why I can do something versus why I cannot. So top producers will go around, over, through any obstacle, any problem. They will find a way and find a solution. No big deal. Average producers will allow themselves to be convinced by that little voice. We like to call that voice Mr. Mediocrity. So top producers find a way, not an excuse. Habit number 2. Top producers are students of their game, student of the game. This is huge. I mean, we work with some of the top producers in the entire nation, and it's so interesting to see that some of the best top producers and some of the best leaders that we have say, hey, I've gotten to where I have for this reason, for a reason. And at the same time, I know I don't know what I don't know. There's always more to learn and grow. There's always ways to sharpen the saw. I think the best example of this is the Jim Rohn quote, you know, formal education will make you a living, but a self-education will make you a fortune. And if you think about it, like nowadays, so many people go to college, get great degrees, get themselves a mound of debt. But I don't know about you ladies, like when I was in college, I hadn't totally considered the idea of a sales career being the most successful career in the nation. But how true is that? Like in a commission-based sales career, you have more opportunity. There's no ceiling. The world is your oyster, however you want to say it. You have the opportunity, but how often are we sharpening our saw? How often are we investing in our mind and our vocation to get better and better? So that is one thing that we have noticed, that top producers will continue investing in themselves. They'll continue investing in their profession and in their career and their mind. Whether that's reading books, hiring a coach, listening to podcasts, there's more to learn and grow. Okay, so habit number 2 is a student of the game. Habit number 3, this is kind of what we were just referencing. Top producers take action now. Take action now. And so I want to reference this one and kind of get into this a little bit, what this means. Because what we have noticed, there is an extreme cost in business today. It is the number one reason why people don't hit their full potential, and it is the most expensive cost in business. And I think, Jess, you might have referenced it earlier. It starts with a P.
Procrastination?
Yes, procrastination. We like to call it creative avoidance. Creative avoidance. You know, because and it's like this shows up different for everyone, right? But I've had clients say, yeah, Katie, I mean, the first thing I do, I get up and I have so many emails and voicemails that I have to check, and I got to get to it. And then, you know, oh, but I know I had that prospecting schedule, but I really need to prepare for this other appointment. And then by the time I get to that appointment and by the time I do this, you know, I have more emails and voicemails to check, and I have buyers that come up. And then by the time I get to like 3:00, that prospecting time just gets pushed to the next day. Have you guys ever experienced that?
Mm-hmm. I would like to speak on that just for a second. I literally have this. This is number one with me. It hits home for sure. Yeah. And I feel like a squirrel during the day, right? Because I'm tossed here, tossed there, and I'm always avoiding the things that are most uncomfortable. And that's basically my issue for sure. And I know a lot of people have this issue in sales, but yeah, for sure. So here.
Absolutely. And that's probably the biggest area of opportunity of looking at, okay, well, obviously there's creative avoidance because at the end of the day, we like to reference this as a disease called Lodi. It's in you, it's in me, it's in all of us. We've all experienced this at some point. It's called the law of diminishing intent. And as it states clearly, as time goes on, we are less likely to take action on our most important intentions. So exactly what you were referencing, just like, oh, I have this whole to-do list at the beginning of the day and I'm going to crush it. And then when things come up, what we thought was our most important intentions don't actually happen. I would say this is the biggest opportunity for people, right? Is to be able to actually take action, even when it's scary, right? Even when it's uncertain, is to take action on things, right? So how do top producers overcome those procrastination tendencies? How do they overcome Lodi? They focus on and gain accountability around their IPAs, around their income producing activities. So looking at, okay, do I know what my income producing activities are? Do I know how much time I'm actually spending in my week protecting that, right? And it's like, if we don't know what an ideal week looks like, we're never going to have one. And I have people in real estate and mortgage say all the time, Katie, things come up, fires happen, all of this stuff. I absolutely understand. And at the same time, it's like, if we don't know what that looks like, and if we don't protect time for new prospecting, things are not going to increase, right? So we have to look at, what does that look like for me, and how can I gain some accountability around putting those things in place, even if it's progress, right? That's some of the biggest things that we've seen with the producers that we work with, is like, how do we at least put progress in place with that? How do I become more proactive and intentional versus reactive and regretful? So in review, guys, habits of top producers. All top producers find a way, not an excuse. They're students of the game, and they take action now. I love talking about this. You probably hear me talk about these a lot. I feel like it's never too much to hear about these over and over again, because we can all be reminded of these habits that we can put in place. So my piece of encouragement is looking at, okay, which one best resonates with me? Which one do I know I want to start focusing on, to where I can start putting this habit in place that would yield some significant results. One thing that we do believe in at Southwestern Consulting is being able to provide value for free as a way of introducing ourselves and earning trust. That's part of our creed. So I wanted to be able to share this. If anyone wants to take advantage of this, it's 7 of our best training videos, and we like to share this. If you want to participate in it, it's just sending an email to bonus@southwesternconsulting.com. And you put your first name and then Katie Hassan in the subject line, and then you actually receive a 7-day free video course. It's pretty cool. It's from our partners. So feel free to take advantage of that if you'd like. But it's just sending an email to bonus@southwesternconsulting.com and then putting your name and Katie Hassan in the subject line. So I want to switch gears here for a second. So when it comes to navigating, this is one of my favorite topics. Selling the way people like to buy. So if you guys, I want to ask a question here. If you guys ever had maybe a client or a potential prospect that you don't feel like that you absolutely clicked with, maybe like you left that listing appointment, it's like, man, I think it went okay, but something just was off. Or you had that buyer that you're just like, why are they not on the same page? Has either of you guys experienced that before?
Absolutely.
Yes. And so sometimes we realize, okay, well, if there is different behavior styles, and I'm only working with referral partners that are a lot like me, or if I'm only working with potential buyers or clients that are a lot like me, I'm missing out on 75% of business. So this is something that we dive into deep into coaching and customizing it, but I'll give you guys like a bird's eye view, a big overview today, and hopefully share some perspective in that. So this will be fun to kind of think through what this looks like for you and the people that you are working with on a consistent basis. So with that being said, thinking through, as I go through this, think through who are not only the people that I connect best with that are like me in some of these tendencies, and which ones do I have trouble connecting with? So if you guys have, heard of DISC or Myers-Briggs, it's similar.
Mm-hmm.
I have Navigate, which is more of a buying, selling behavioral style, adapting that. Because ultimately the goal of this is not only to solidify, if I know who I am and my behavior style, and I'm confident in that, and I know how I show up, which kind of leans to the emotional intelligence side of things, which I think you guys talked about last week.
Yes.
Which it's kind of cool how it blends together. It's a good follow-up segment, I guess, from that one.
Sure.
Yeah, I will say that I've taken the DISC a couple times, and every time I get the same results. I'm a very high I in D, which is probably not shocking. So, but because I've taken that and I've learned that there are the C's and the S's, it's taught me that people people are different. And now I make more of a conscious effort when I'm getting to know a new client or getting to know a new agent or getting to know somebody, and kind of feel them out and determine, are they like me or are they more of a C or an S? And it has tremendously helped in working together. I'm noticing it about myself. Okay, let me not send that short email that's straight to the point like I want to do. Let me put a little fluff in there and ask them about their day, and then get into the meat and bones of it.
Yes, absolutely. And that's absolutely what this is for. And that's one of the many things that we focus on in coaching is like, okay, if I identify what this looks like for me and how I show up in a buying situation, in a selling situation, I want to be able to identify that in others. And then obviously the goal of being able to identify that in others is, okay, how do I modify my communication to be able to best be the way that they're going to be received. So we'll get into this a little bit. So if you've ever had those people who are very abrasive, get to the point. What do you want? What do you need? Or those people who just can't make a decision. Or those people who want a million details. They want to read the contract line by line by line.
Sometimes.
Yes. Or the people who they tell you what you want to hear, but you don't get down to the actual issue, or you don't get down to actually what they're really looking for. Like, this is a great one for if you've ever had that client that says they want the 2-1, and then when you find them the perfect house, or when it looks like that, then that wasn't actually their deal breakers, right?
Yeah, happens all the time.
They decided overnight, they really needed a 3-bedroom.
Right. So this applies to that as well too. So looking at, okay, what kind of people do I best connect with, and where is an opportunity for me in this? So I'll go through this because people respond differently to what type of communication style, right? So the golden rule is treat people the way you want to be treated. This goes above this. I don't know if you want to call it the platinum rule, but it's treating people the way they want to be treated. Because if we can identify what that looks like and their behavior patterns, it improves our ability not only to sell and have a better chance of being able to serve that client, but this also transfers into leadership as well too. For anyone who's watching that could be in a leadership role, we talk about how that transfers to leading people the way they want to be led as well too. So it's a process of not only identifying this, but looking at, okay, how do I not change who I am? That's not the goal of this. You don't change who you are as a person, but you modify to best be able to understand that person and deliver what the end goal is. So let's talk about, what are those behavior styles? What does that look like? So as I go through this, a fun exercise is to look at, which one am I? Which one does this fit into? And then thinking through not only your COI, but your referral partners, the people that you interact with on a most consistent basis. So let's talk about the fighter first, right? So this is that extroverted, task-oriented, go-getter, let's get it done. What do you want to get to the point, right? So let's talk about their characteristics. They are results-oriented, resilient. They can be impatient and controlling, right? They are determined. So it's important as we go through these to look at what are their typical fears, what are their hesitations, because if we can understand what those are, we can best address those. Part of understanding, what we like to say at Southwestern Consulting is selling is not pushing someone to buy something. It is asking the right questions, finding a need, and providing a service. And part of finding a need is identifying if there's any fears involved. So it's important to understand that for these behavior styles, and understanding in stress, they might just take over the conversation. They might bulldoze, right? So this is all good to understand so that we can better identify it. Other ways of identification, they are the people who speak loudly and slowly because it conveys confidence. And in the book, Navigate 2.0, Selling the Way People Like to Buy, it's part of our curriculum. One of our co-founders wrote that book along with a partner of our company, going into what does that look like in their office. If you're visiting that person's office, typically they have a lot of trophies or a lot of awards being displayed in their office. So what does that look like? How do I best communicate with a fighter? Being direct, to the point, not beating around the bush. They're not going to laugh at any jokes that you tell. Being able to give them the opportunity to choose, right? So for example, something we talk about in coaching is what type of closing questions are good to use with a fighter. Choice of two positives is a great one. Being able to recognize them. They love recognition as well too. So let's keep going here. Are you a fighter? So keep that in mind. Next one. Entertainer. These are the outgoing, life of the party entertainers. They are extroverted, enthusiastic. They talk a lot. If you have people who just keep talking, they also are inspired by affirmations. They have a fear of rejection. They want people to like them, right? They can be overwhelmed sometimes in situations. I want to keep going through this because we do have two more. But they are the high volume, fast talkers. They're out there networking fools. They get out there and talk to everybody. Sometimes they can be disorganized, but they typically have things everywhere. But they are you guys know what an entertainer. Usually an entertainer is the easiest one to identify. So how do I work with an entertainer? Sometimes we gotta. Did one of you guys mention squirrel earlier?
I did. Yeah, definitely.
Yes, sometimes we have to reel them back in, and especially in those conversations. Like if you've ever had those clients that you're working with and they start telling you about their grandma's sister's situation that happened, and you reel them back into what their situation is. So interact with them, give them words of affirmations, be able to look for that and compliment them, and speak to the emotions. They like the sizzle, not the steak. Okay. So are you an entertainer? Next one, counselor. So those are the people that are a little bit more introverted. They're very relationship driven. They very much care about their family, about the team, and they play an active listening part. They're slower to make decisions. They don't really share their opinions a lot, but their opinions are important because typically they provide a perspective that some people are not thinking of. They hate change. They want consistency, and they tend to not try to rock the boat a lot, right? So those are the counselors, and typically they speak in a lower volume and a slower speed. They have a lot of family pictures in their office. They're very team and family oriented. So like I said, provide good perspectives. But we want to be able to match that, right? We want to be able to slow down our speech and be able to meet them where they're at. Some people call that mirroring. So how do I communicate with them? Kind of what I was just referencing. We want to make sure things are played out logically. We want to give them that opportunity to, we want to make sure if it is a counselor and they do have a spouse that needs to be involved, that they are part of that decision-making process. We want to be patient with them. Okay. So are you a counselor? And then the last one, we have a detective. So detectives can be introverted, task-oriented. The more analytical type, they can be perfectionists. They can go into that analysis paralysis. I like to share with my clients all the time, we're focused on progress, not perfection. Progress, not perfection. Because sometimes I think we all can fall into that analysis paralysis and we want to do things right before we do them. This is huge. So they're motivated by accuracy. These are those clients, they don't want to make a mistake. Especially for some of those first-time home buyers, if you have a detective that's a first-time home buyer, they got to know everything. They gotta know
absolutely
the details, and they can seem pessimistic under stress. Like, this is never going to close. This is never going to happen. So typically they are lower speed, but they talk faster because they just want the details. They want their pros and cons. These are those type of people who list it out. So how do I effectively communicate with a detective? You want to encourage them to let them know that this is going to be the right decision. So detectives ask a lot of why questions. Why am I going to go with you versus another agent? Why am I going to do this versus this? They will ask a lot of why questions. So in summation, with the detective, I'll go through what questions to look out for with all of these, right? So detectives, like we said, are why questions. Counselors are the how questions, like how is this going to affect me and my family? Entertainers, who questions. Fighters, what questions. Okay, so which one are you looking at? Okay, there's 4 different behavior styles. Not only which one am I, but who are those potential clients that I'm working with right now that are probably a different behavior style from me? Like I said, today was kind of a bird's eye view, a big overview, and coaching is where you kind of nail this down with your coach specifically. You're able to talk through some of these situations. I think of one of our clients, Allison Beldick. She's with Atlantic Bay Mortgage, and she was telling her coach, she's like, I have this real estate agent, and we've had conversations like randomly here and there for like 2 years, but he keeps telling me, yeah, we'll sit down sometime, but we just can't nail down the time. And so her and our coach worked specifically on identifying what his navigate style was. Turns out he's a detective, right, which is a high C. And so they worked on what language she could specifically use to make progress in that conversation, and how she could actually set up the appointment with him. Their coaching call was on a Thursday. She texted her coach on that Friday. Oh my gosh, you won't believe it. I finally got an appointment with him. It's on Tuesday. And so that meeting on Tuesday was scheduled for only 30 minutes. She tells her coach later the meeting lasted for an hour and a half. And he said, I don't know how you did this. I've never given anyone this much time, much less a mortgage person. And now he's a fantastic referral partner for her. So you can see how, being able to take this down on a granular level and apply it would make a huge difference. So that's what I wanted to be able to cover from a bird's eye view today. Something that I like, well, obviously I wanted to say thank you, ladies, for having me today and being able to share a little bit of insights. If you or anyone you want to know wants to look into, okay, well, what would coaching look like for me? How could it impact my business? I am offering complimentary business action planning sessions, which is a one-on-one conversation to look at what are my goals, where are my strengths, opportunities, what would coaching look like for me individually? And if you are a leader who wants to have a more in-depth customized webinar, I do complimentary customized trainings like this for groups as well too. I can't wait to get back in person with people, but I do webinars as well too. So I wanted to be able to say thank you. This is my contact information. Connect with me, reach out with me. Happy to have any of those type of conversations and figure out how we can help and serve.
Katie, this has been great. I know I definitely learned a lot. I definitely saw myself in one of those. Well, which one it is, we don't need to get into that, but definitely related to one of those. If somebody is, when is the right time for somebody to get into coaching?
Whoa. Based on what we talked about earlier, and one of my affirmations, which I've said for over 8 years now, is no time's a good time, now is the best time. No time's a good time, now is the best time. Because we can always find a reason why when this happens, then that'll be a good thing. And that's feeding into that voice of Mr. Mediocrity. And I work on that myself. And if I'm a practitioner of what I preach, taking action on it is the most important thing. So
that's great feedback. And I mean, we've all experienced a lot of those scenarios that you brought up during the presentation. This was so beneficial to myself personally, but I know many others that are watching after this. If you're in sales, I mean, we all go through at least one of those items that you mentioned. So that was cool. What about if someone wants to be a coach? How do they get into your field? How does that work?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked that because I am actually a team leader with Southwestern Coaching as well too. So not only am I a coach, do we help people and enroll people in coaching, but I also am a team leader. So typically, if anyone is interested in looking into what that looks like, we look for people who have 10 or more years of sales experience, who have been the top producer. We are very much a practitioner's model. We practice what we preach, and who has a passion for helping and serving people. So same thing, you can get in contact with me either via email, or that is my cell phone number. So happy to talk through those opportunities as well too.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for being here with us today. There's a couple quotes that I may email you on that I want you to send me that you've said that it really has stuck. So great job.
Good. Well, I so appreciate you ladies. I am here for you if you need any help, or if I can connect you guys with anybody. I love being a connector as well too. So
love it. Thank you so much.
So, thank you.
Bye. Enjoy your weekend.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow.
Great. It's always good to learn, for habits. I mean, that, you don't realize sometimes the habits that you get yourself into, and because it's a habit, you just do it over and over. And so learning, being able to see that and then pivot, I guess that's kind of like the word of the year this year, pivot and change up your habits. That was great.
No, it was great. And I love the whole topic in general. I mean, we hear a lot about coaching the entire time I've been in this business, 20 years. I've heard about this, but I've never had a breakdown of what actual coaching, kind of goes over. And having her break that down was very insightful. I was taking notes through the presentation. So, I mean, taking your business to the next level, you can't do it by yourself, right? And I think that tying in the Zip transactions, tying in, getting a coach, these are all good things to have in your business. So I loved it. I loved the show. It was awesome to have them both on. So everyone enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, I definitely learned a lot. So, Katie. Okay, sorry, Katie was just coming on to listen to the feedback. It's all been positive. Definitely
That's
positive
awesome.
feedback. So another great episode.
Yes.
Our email addresses are on the screen. I am at Jennifer@jennifersalestampa.com, or you can find me on Facebook, Jennifer Fernandez, as well.
And Jessica Sherrill at Freedom Mortgage, the home. You can email me, call me anytime, or message me on Facebook. I'm always available. So we look forward to helping you guys.
If anybody has any ideas, topics that you would like us to bring on, please send us a message or email us with your ideas. We are open to anything and everything. And if you are or know somebody who is a small business owner and would like to be featured on the show, please send us a message or email us. And we are happy. We love supporting the community and small businesses. So we would be more than happy to get them on in the industry.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks everybody. Hope everybody has a fabulous weekend. See you next week.
Bye, Jen.
Bye.